Okay. Okay. So just to give a little preface, right? We did a little bit just now, but my name is Adrian.
Hmm.
I am 28 years old, or I get 29. I turned 29 in October. Sorry, it's been a complete winter. So I'm New Jersey based in the U.S. and I don't
Right?
have any like background in gaming other than I have been gaming like my 29 years on this earth. Like I don't have any history of learning or trying to make games. And
Hmm.
my adventure in this podcast has been to talk about like all kinds of media because I don't know maybe if you're a fan of them or not, but whatever maybe games that you grew up with playing, they get like all these adaptations, right? Whether it's a movie or a TV show, a comic, like an audio book or anything like that, they get ways to be like expanded upon, and they go from maybe titles that maybe never would have succeeded or gotten as notarized as they did. Like for example, Halo. I think Halo's a perfect example of like lightning in a bottle type, experience, and then it blew up. I had Karen Travis, a writer, creative writer for not just the Halo series for novels, but for the Gears of War series. She worked on Gears of War 3. And so my adventure here has been to kind of explore and talk about really all kinds of media, and that does come from gaming, but it's really how we as fans and then like creative artists get more opportunities to not just make but experience these mediums, these worlds, these franchises in just different ways. Your
Right?
game that we're talking about is for what it really is. It's an indie game, and that comes with a lot of caveats, some kind of like idea of there's a quality to an indie game. And when I think
Hmm.
of indie game, I think of like somebody has an idea, but they're only trying to get it out in with minimal resources. But if they get the chance to, like games that we've seen in the past, to really flourish, they can become massive. And so what I try to do for at least small developers like you or creators is let them talk about their game so that they can at least express themselves, get that game out there, and then maybe that game has a chance to not just get a little bit of an audience, a little bit of like, popularity, money flow, but even the chance to like exceed outside of the game or the original source material. Because your game story has some really cool depth to it. It's where like the narrative and the time really fit into the gameplay, and that's kind of what progresses you. You see that with games. Dead Rising, it has a time clock within its game. You
Yeah.
see it with like the Atlas games, Persona and Metaphor with the calendar in some caveat in way. But then you guys have like mechanics that come from um, Resident Evil with like kind of horror type fixed camera searching and within Colony 7. So
Hmm.
I think that your game with its at least from the demo that I experienced, its story could be expanded on top of any type of ways because we see with all kinds of games they get like spin-offs from becoming an RPG to like maybe some kind of action game or something in the future. That's all nice to think about in the future, but it's kind of the experience that I want to talk about and see what that's like for you as a developer. And hopefully, this gives you some more platform because for a little history's sake, and we can delve into this a little bit, but I don't think we talk about this enough, and we don't talk about how um, developers or artists or anything they support themselves in all kinds of ways. And what
Hmm.
really inspired me to reach out to you was the fact that you guys attempted a Kickstarter, and while it didn't succeed, you're still at it, still developing. That demo is kicking. I see that you guys have been active on the like the reviews page on Steam and stuff. So
Yeah.
to see that kind of hard work and dedication in to be honest, I try to talk about this point a little bit, and I hope that you can maybe flesh out onto it. Is
Yeah, of
The
course.
last 3 years or so, um, I'm sorry, from like 2020, 2023, we had a world event which, changed our entire culture on across the world, right? Not just
Mhm.
gaming, but just how every
Yep.
people live their lives and then all that kind of stuff. So what I would like to know is, um, I believe, you're Juan, you're the creative director. Please introduce yourself at some point when I stop talking, but I want to know when you guys started this idea, how it came, this kernel for this video game, what inspired it, and then when you were faced with the development issues, not just anything that comes from like writing down into a computer, but if you would maybe a little open up or tell me something about what it was like to be a creator or a developer within that time period. Because I think that that's something that we
Hmm.
don't think about because that changed gaming. I mean, whether or not you were a fan or a creator or right a publisher or someone who tried marketing or anything like that, the gaming
Hmm.
field changed. And I think that it's come down to honesty. It's come down to transparency. There's a lot of things about gaming that I think gamers, artists, developers, creators, they don't necessarily trust just for whatever reason. And so outside of um, news articles where like it's kind of, you know, snipped here and there for some of the quotes and things like that, I just think that talking to a creative person is incredible. So again, thank you for coming out and speaking with me on this podcast. I know that was a very long-winded intro, but I wanted to set the ground for what you guys have been doing as a small company. The developer ground is incredible. I don't know how many guys you are, at least at this stage, but to have a chance to talk to you, people who are still creating, that's incredible. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was an awesome introduction, and that really sets up the gives me a lot of things to talk about. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I know it was long-winded, but there is a history to it, and these
Yeah.
passion projects that you guys do, they're so time consuming, whether for whatever reason. So I think that we don't give that enough credit because we see with multi-million dollar titles, they go from,
Mhm.
you know, announced once and then we don't see them for 5 years. And that is the normal now. Maybe in like 2020, I'm sorry, 2002, 2005, that wasn't the same. I think like the
Mhm.
turnaround was like a month or 6 months for certain type of games by the time they were announced to release. So it kind of depends. But
Yeah, it
yeah, if
depends.
you could,
There were also long development times back then, but yeah,
hmm
it's gone a little bit. It's it blew up, right? It became like 5 to 10 years for some franchises to see a new game. So it's
yeah,
a lot of time.
yeah, Duke Nukem comes to mind when I think about long development times.
Yeah.
hmm So you're from Spain. I'm an
Yeah.
American. I think you can obviously tell what kind of games are really popular here, right? If it's not Call of Duty, it's a sports game or like a racing game, mostly, right? So
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about yourself and the kind of games that you grew up with. Were there any specific genres or maybe uh, companies that you were like really fond of? Were you like specifically a Xbox, Sony, or other type of brand character? And
Mhm.
did that history, I mean, I'm sure it did, but what kind of influence did it have in you getting into game development and creating the time I have left?
Okay. So, well, first of all, my name is Juan, but everyone calls me Yite, which is the name that I've used professionally for a long time right now.
Cool. Okay.
So you can call me either way, but my kind of professional nickname is Yite, and I'm from Spain,
Gotcha.
as you already said. And yeah, it's nice that you mentioned the kinds of games that are popular in the United States, because nowadays the market is a lot more global in terms of what which franchises are working right here. In
Absolutely.
Spain, it's not that different. Grand Theft Auto and all these and sport games and racing games and all that. It's still there's a lot of overlap in that regard. But back then, we used to have a very different market than the USA. There were a lot of games that never released in here, but did release there. So
Okay, I get you.
that yeah, it wasn't until the late 2010s that we really started getting everything day and date with the USA and other global markets. So we had
Okay.
to be very creative in terms of how to get access to different games. We had to import games. We had to look at magazines, and we were always excited about games that we couldn't get in here.
Yeah.
So uh, and this is important for your question because I started gaming on the Mega Drive, the Genesis,
Awesome.
Sega Genesis.
Old school.
Yeah, I started gaming with that machine, which was I was very little when that released,
Hmm.
and I started playing games like Sonic the Hedgehog and things like that. And those were the very first ones that made me uh, a video game fan. I became a very big lover of games. But in my home, my father was very against video games. Had this like of mentality that games were not good for kids. So
Okay.
I actually didn't get a console until much later, and I really wanted went to my friends' houses to play and to. I was always very excited to get a chance to play with these games, and all the time that I wasn't playing, I was imagining things about these games, and I think that that was like the very first time I started thinking, what will be the next level? How will it play? And that got me a little bit into this mindset of being creative around games. Um, and that was important because I got kind of like my cousin was about to throw away their Master System, which was the
Hmm.
previous console to the Genesis.
Yeah.
Uh, and I said, okay, if you are going to throw it away, you can just give it to me.
It's always
And
good
I
to think
got
ahead.
to
Yeah.
yeah, and I spent like a lot of that between the probably between the 1995 and almost until halfway in the life of the original PlayStation. I played a lot of the Master System because it was the only console that I had available. So that kind of shaped I have like a an older mindset in that regard. I grew
Can
up
I
like
can I ask you something?
yeah, of course.
Were
Yeah, of
were
course.
arcades popular in Spain around maybe like the late 80s, 90s, around I guess your
Yeah,
childhood? Yeah, where they were?
yeah, yeah, they were. They were. Yeah,
Okay,
they
cool, cool.
actually lasted until 2008, 2009. We
Yes,
had
the same
arcades
here.
here also, and we were. It was like the meeting spot for friends. We went there all the weekend. We spent a lot of money playing games like Time Crisis or The House of the Dead. All these kinds of arcade games. It
Yeah,
was very fun,
I have a
and
small
I really
memory
miss.
of games for like arcade, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, going back to kind of I was what I was explaining, um,
Yeah,
it
your
all comes
history
back
with gaming.
to Sonic to Sonic the Hedgehog,
Hmm.
because around 1994, my cousin, the one that gave me the Master System, won a contest and won a Sega Saturn.
Wow.
Um, yeah, she was like very fortunate. She always got these kinds of won at these kinds of contests. and I gave her as a present the Sonic Jam in collection. I don't know if you remember about that,
Yeah, I've seen it.
but it was like the sort of collection of the very first three Sonic the Hedgehog
Hmm.
games. Um, and it was pretty awesome for me back then because I was a kid. But it had something that is pretty common right now that it wasn't at the time, which is that it included original material of the development of the game. It included some drafts for levels, character designs, and you could check all those out in a gallery mode that
Hmm.
the game had, and it was like an eye opener moment for me because I, for the first time, knew how these games were at least planned. So I kind of took photos of all of those images and started doing my own Sonic the Hedgehog designs in a notebook at home because I only had the Master System,
I had a
and that
neighbor
was
just
like
like you.
the sorry.
I had a neighbor just like you, big Sonic fan, had like a
Yeah.
whole notebook of Sonic that you reminded me of him. His name was Joseph.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah,
So we have
sorry. This,
Joseph and I we have something in common.
mhm.
So it was like the very first contact that I had with that, and from there I started. I haven't considered myself a Sonic fan for a very long time, but
Really?
at that time, at that point in time, I appreciate the games. I really
Yeah.
like some of the stuff that they have released over the years, but I'm not the. When I was a kid, I was crazy about Sonic. I had like my sneakers that had lights on them when you and were like Sonic branded sneakers and all that.
That's awesome. Did you see the movies?
Yeah.
The three live action movies?
I actually have two very good friends. One of them is my partner on the time I have left, which are very big fans of the Sonic franchise, and I went to the movies with them. Yeah,
That's awesome. I'm glad
yeah,
to hear that.
yeah. We are like three big grown men surrounded by a lot of kids at the theater, but it's
Hey
very fun.
man, I did my first ever like cosplay type event, and that was for a Dragon Ball Z movie. So I completely
Okay,
understand a grown man going and being silly at a kid's movie. So no judgment at all. I
okay,
had a
that's nice.
golden wig and everything.
Awesome. Nice to see that.
Yeah. So you got a little bit
You were
into Sonic, right?
cosplaying. You cosplayed as Goku,
Oh, it was actually
or
Teen
other.
Gohan,
Okay,
actually.
Tingo Hand,
My
best.
my friends were Piccolo with the cap back on, and then Vegeta with the pink shirt. If you remember anything from Dragon Ball, I don't know if you
Yeah, I
watched
was a
that.
big fan of Dragon Ball as well.
Awesome, awesome. They're having their 40th anniversary event sometime this month. I think it's this weekend. They're doing a
Hmm.
live stream, and there's supposed to be a new video game announcement along with, fingers crossed, a
Awesome.
update on the manga and the anime, because that's where I'm really keen into.
Great. Yeah, I've been a very big fan of Dragon Ball as well because I grew up with the series. It started around the time I was born, more or less, and I grew up as the series went by. I managed to see the end of the manga almost day and date with Japan, so it was kind of like a mind-blowing experience back then.
Dude, that's awesome, because, as a kid, I recorded on VHS the the last episodes of Z and then like the entirety of GT when it would air. And then I
Yeah.
grew up and I was like reading the mangas as they came out. And now that I'm able to do that as an adult, I'm just like, this is such a great experience. Like I get so excited when there's a new Dragon Ball, a new One Piece, like just chapter or anything like that. That's just something that I really enjoy. I hope that that's an art form that kind of lasts forever, but I don't know if you've heard about it, but apparently there's AI manga going out now. So,
Okay.
nothing
No.
is safe.
Yeah, we are not safe. But yeah, uh, I I didn't hear about that specifically, but it was bound to
Yeah.
happen, and I don't really like that at all. But uh, I don't know, man.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
I I understand like humans using tools to make things easier. Like that's something that I completely understand. And I think that as long as it's like still a human that's at least like using something to create something, I think that's like kind of a pass. But when it comes to like the topic of it, I think people really just don't like knowing that things weren't as creative or as had as much time into it or effort. So that's a big topic that's going to be like in gaming and kind of everything forever.
yeah,
So your
yeah.
game entirely,
Mhm.
made by you guys, which is insane, you know, for a game developed in about 5 years, right? That must have felt like
Yeah,
a scary moment to be like, we have to start doing this. How do we get from not just A to B, but A to Z? And I imagine you guys might be somewhere along like the LMNO S type tier on the plans. Um, how has it
yes.
been so far?
Hmm. So yes, you as you have said, we've been working on this for a long time, um, and we've come through a lot of things in this time. We started like I started this as a solo developer. Then we were two. Then we were four. Then we were six. Then we were five. Sorry.
Mhm.
Then we went back to being three. We built a studio around the game. We pitched it to a lot of publishers. We went to Gamescom. We went to different events here in Europe. So we've done like the whole uh, game creator roadmap. We've knocked all the doors. We've went to all the right places, but we haven't managed to get the support that we wanted for this game.
Mhm.
That we needed more than we wanted. Um, Mainly because, as you said, that the game looks kind of cool for something made by a very small team, and there's a lot of variables in terms of the business side and the publishers
Sure,
around that.
absolutely.
So even if we believe that we made all the right steps, we even tried, as you have said, the Kickstarter route. We've tried everything that we could, and we still couldn't made it. But we started this because we wanted to. We had something we wanted to tell. We had something we wanted to express, and
Sure.
we are at a point where things are uh, at a very good place in terms of how much work has been done already, how many people are following us and are excited about the game, the reception of our more outlandish ideas, and we are very happy about that, and we are proud about what we are making. So we don't really want to stop. We want to see this through. We want to make it, and we want to release it. And if we don't have the support, the financial support, or the marketing support that a publisher can give us, um, we will obviously take more time because we have spent a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of time on this already. But we will do it. We will find a way. Maybe we will find a publisher.
I
We're
think
still
that
trying.
nowadays
Yeah.
people still value the effort and all that artists put into it. I think that when people look at the money and all that stuff, that's not a reason people play games, not a reason people buy it. You put as many zeros you want behind something. It doesn't necessarily mean it's valuable to people. Now, what made this game valuable to me? Well, it's doing something that I think games don't really do more so nowadays. I think you maybe saw it a
Mhm,
little more in like the late 90s, the turn of the century 2000 with like the 3D innovation and maybe some control stuff. But,
mhm,
you know, RPGs, whether they're action-based or they're turn-based, they're pretty much like one of the forefront gaming genres. And the action 3D games, they're more popular for all kinds of reasons. But RPGs,
Hmm.
turn-based, have the legacy, right? I mean, Final
Yeah.
Fantasy, Pokemon, and the gameplay is simple. And that's not a bad thing because you don't really want to have to be thinking all of the time or have to be automatically engaged with both hands on your controller or your mouse or your keyboard or whatever. So the benefits that sometimes a turn-based game has in some cases where you have moments to take your time without fully pausing the game and you can think a little more methodical about how you're going to approach. That's something that I think
Hmm.
that video game developers are trying to balance. And I think more recently, um, this mechanic has not been new, right? I think that the earliest I've seen it is like Mario and Luigi Superstars Saga, the turn-based games for the Game Boy, where it's a
Hmm.
turn-based game, but if an enemy attacks you, you can press a button and do like less damage to yourself, or press a button while you attack and you do more damage. And this has been reoccurring in more games now, so. But I think that it really,
Hmm.
really got put in the forefront when Expedition 33 came out last year or so, where it
Hmm.
had not just a dodge mechanic, which is pretty normal, not just a parry mechanic, but it had like a jump mechanic. It had a like a super mechanic. It was incredible to really have that kind of engagement for a video game, a turn-based game nonetheless. It's not new, but it was done in a way that was refreshing and it felt innovative and like revigorating to the RPG genre. For me, I go back and I play Pokemon ROMs all year long. And so when I'm like just pressing A at text boxes and stuff, it's just mind numbing. But when I have to think about what frames or animation the enemy is going to attack me with or anything like that, I'm a little more engaged. But the gameplay also allows me on my own turn to like recollect myself and have a little like, breather. But your game has something that I think is innovative, and that's the directional dodges. Like that is what made me download your game because I'm like, I have to play an RPG like this. I'm sure it's not completely new. There might have been a game that did it sometime in the past, but you guys have this time mechanic, which is a resource. You use it for healing. It's basically your
Hmm.
countdown. It's very important to the overall gameplay. So when I downloaded that game and I saw that you guys have the normal mode, which includes the countdown and all that resource managing technically. You also have a
Hmm.
story mode, a uh, we can call it what we want to call it, right? A journalist mode, an easy mode, right? Not to say that those are bad things, but when it comes to accessibility and difficulty in video games, the more options that developers give to players to just experience their game is incredible and it does so much wonders. So the very fact that your demo has that right there to experience where you can do the story mode, get acclimated without the time countdown and all the managing stuff and acclimate yourself to the game. And then when like maybe you get a little more familiar with it, you go to the normal setting, or maybe when you finish the game and you say to yourself, how fast can I beat this game? What is the fastest I could do this with what I know? Your game sounds like the perfect game for almost everybody. You can experience it at your own leisure, or you could take it to the furthest extreme and like speed run it, which we all know has like it's all kinds of crazy nonsense. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just awesome. So to me, that's my
Well,
favorite
thank
part
you.
about your game is that it's an amalgamation of a lot of things that we really don't really see used a lot anymore, or things that just don't really seem to be like at the forefront of gaming. And to me, it was the directional dodges. I mean, I like the music. The fixed camera stuff is very nostalgic for certain parts, and I enjoy that. A lot of people are like, abrasive at certain things, but when it comes to the full project, I think that it actually does what it does, and it feels like a well together game. So I'm excited to kind of experience what that entire the vision that you have would be. It just seems really fun.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the compliment. And yeah, it's as you said, been a lot of over the years. There's been a lot of developers trying to make turn-based combat more active for the player
Hmm.
for a
Yeah.
long, long time. Even in times of the SNES with the Mario RPG series and on the PlayStation, on the original PlayStation, the PlayStation 2 with Shadow Hearts, for example, it had like the ring with the timing. So there's been a lot um, of tries to kind of dynamize what is your usual turn-based combat, and we were of this mindset as well. And I'm sure that that we have in common with the Expedition 33 guys, that we both wanted to make something that felt a little bit more active than your usual RPG, and it's kind of our mentality for this. We wanted normally in a turn-based RPG, you select your actions during your turn, and then you have to eat the attacks that the enemies throw at you. But we wanted to kind of include this reactive dodging aspect to make you always in control of the situation. You don't have to just take the hit. You can do several things with it. And we decided to put this directional system to reinforce that. You have to be aware from where the attacks come from. Um, but you don't just have to dodge. You have many resources and many things you can do. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of the same mentality, the same idea, same philosophy, let's say. Um, but yeah, it comes from a long tradition of minor RPGs and or more experimental RPGs that have been trying to have paved the way, let's say, to for us to kind of arrive at this. And obviously, Expedition 33 made something that it's very high quality, very interesting. So people have been very receptive of it, and that in turn has brought some eyes to us, which is kind of good. We are not gonna lie that the
I think
popularity
that
of
people don't give enough
yeah
credit to the the s- the small games in the genre that keep it alive. I mean, for example, everyone talks about the Souls-like game, right? Everything that's not FromSoft, Dark Souls games, they call it Souls-like.
yeah
Not to say that your game is like Expedition-like. I don't think that in any way, but I think that your game is an amalgamation of all kinds of things because the the time mechanic, that's, something very limiting. Was that meant to be just a story element, or was it always meant to be a gameplay element? When did it become
yeah
something where you wanted to make players manage the time on top of experiencing the game you wanted to play? Was that always a core part of the concept?
yeah. So it was actually a core part of the concept before it was a full-fledged RPG,
Awesome.
because yeah, because this project started as a solo dev endeavor. So the original concept of it was to make a narrative story game, something more close to what people normally call a walking simulator, which is
Ah, yeah.
um,
There's different gameplay styles for
yeah,
everybody. Just because you don't like walking doesn't mean it's not fun. I love
yeah, of course.
walking. I don't know if you saw Stephen King's The Long Walk movie, but I wholeheartedly believe that I would win that competition. Just to put myself
Yeah,
out there. I've said it for years on the podcast. So the walking simulator Death Stranding 2 is the walking Amazon delivery game. I I love it. So like when it comes to
yeah,
like
it's perfectly
experience, you
valid.
have to take everything at face value and like try to enjoy every aspect of it. I mean, I did see a review on your Steam page. Someone didn't like the music. Okay, someone didn't like the intro song. It's not that big a deal. I don't like every song that I hear in every RPG or every video game, but to me, stuff like that, it doesn't really necessarily ruin the whole package. I try to enjoy every aspect of it. And to me, like trying to I haven't felt this feeling of trying to play a time management game since Dead Rising. Like this seems really fun. You know, they have all kinds of mechanics in the game. There's a little bit more of that, but to have a mechanic that seems a mechanic that to me hasn't really been used since the early 2000s was really just exciting.
From our experience, using a timer in a game, it's very risky because
Yes.
people have all this. We were talking before about the arcade and all that, and people have like the concept of a timer in a game like something that is very limiting
Hmm.
in terms of you can't. You have this time. You have to run. You can read. You can do anything. You have just to find a way. So it's very difficult to convey that a timer could be more than that, could work with the narrative, could work with the systems of the game, and try to make uh, it have some weight in the game design and in the narrative, trying to make something more that what we are used to timers in a game. And that was like the original premise. We wanted to make a narrative game that, depending on your knowledge of the world and depending on the on your knowledge of where you are, and allowed you to get more of the experience. And it had some light RPG elements that we were very eager to put in, but we were kind of afraid to make a full-fledged RPG because it would take a lot of time, it would take a lot of money, and in the end, it kind of we have proven ourselves right in some regards. But the game is much more interesting and much more unique because of that. So we pushed for the RPG aspect. We put in everything we wanted into the system, and we are very proud of how it's turning out. So yeah, it's like you said, the concept of the timer has been pretty much abandoned because there's a lot of people, a lot of players that when they see a timer, they say, "Okay, this is gonna stress me out. I don't want to play something that stresses me." So they come to their own conclusion about what this game is about, and they don't really try it. And we've seen a lot of people at events saying, "Okay, I don't know," but then playing the game and realizing that it's not just about going fast, gotta go fast. It's just uh, it's a matter of managing your time and
Hmm.
being. We are actually pushing for people to spend as much time as possible because every time you leave a chapter, a level of the game, your time is rebalanced, let's say. So you lose all the time that you haven't spent. So we put the system in because we want people to spend as much time as possible and not the other way around.
Yeah, these resource managing games, they're usually hit or miss. Especially, I think one of the more successful games is like survival horror, but your game is like, you know, in a way, survival sci-fi. It's not necessarily horror. There's a few spooky elements to it with some of the combat encounters from what I've seen. And we've talked a little
Yeah, it
bit
was.
on, I'm sorry, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that there's a lot of survival horror DNA in the design of the game because we
Hmm.
really like the progression of those games, how exploration works, how puzzle solving works, how do you get the information of the lore and all that. I if you take away from a survival horror the horror and the shooting aspect, you end up with an adventure game that it's pretty cool because you are exploring uh, interesting spaces. You have like an intriguing story. So we took a lot of from that, especially from the old Resident Evil design and also from Silent Hill in terms of vibes, in terms of how exploration works. But we never wanted to make a horror game. The story that we are trying to tell, it's different. It's more akin to what an RPG is. But we have a lot, as you said before. This game has a lot from a lot of places. I started with Sonic and I've ended with this kind of game. So there's a lot in between, a lot of RPGs, a lot of even action games, even fighting games, because we've taken some ideas from 2D fighting games, which is a genre that we love as well. So we are kind of not making something very standard, but we are trying to put the elements of different genres that we think work within our ideas in this game, and I think we are getting there.
No, I mean, in a world where I think the only time-based mechanic left in video games is seasonal battle passes or like seasonal content, it's refreshing. It's refreshing to see games really try to not just respect the player's time or like even their money, but their effort, and their intelligence. Because your game, you know, we mentioned it, but maybe it's not financially successful, at least right now, right? We've been like 10 years, who knows with the eventual launch, but your game has real foundation to be one, a great single player, like single play game. Like if a generic person downloaded it on Steam and they played it once, they'd be like, this is probably a pretty good experience. But when you think about the longevity and I think about what this game could be, I would like to see people speed running this game in like 6 years, 10 years. Like what new concepts are people applying to this game or whatever might happen? What reasons are people still at least downloading, talking about this little niche game in the like RPG scope? And I think that's really the best that we can ask for is not just a nice experience. I mean, I already had that with the demo. I'm sure I'm going to have that with the base game. But I try to think about the longevity of an entire game. I feel like maybe sometimes certain developers and publishers don't think about that when it comes to games. I mean, like live service, online multiplayer games, they're a handful. They have to have that seasonal content. They have to have that like always incoming content to keep people coming in. But
Mhm.
your game has replay value just baked into it with the story mode, the normal mode, and then I imagine you're gonna have like an ultra difficult mode, like where the 6 hours
Yeah.
is cut maybe down to 3 hours or something like that, which is incredible. I hope that you guys get an opportunity to have this game flourish in that way that feels natural, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much. We really are looking to forward to making the best game we can and release it, and we know that it probably won't be like the make the biggest splash out there, but we are
It
very
doesn't have
big
to, man.
fans. Yeah, of course, we are very big. In fact, the games that we love the most are games that are mostly niche or mostly forgotten by the current industry and the current audiences. It's very we are the games that have influenced us the most. So reaching that level has always been enough for us to make something that can other people can find interesting, and maybe we can sort of um, inspire other people to make games that are bigger and better than ours. And that's just something that we've really wanted to do ever since the very beginning. Knowing that there's this kind of small game that only a few know about, that has inspired something that it's bigger or it's better. Just it's kind of enough. But also we have to live, we have to pay our bills, we have to eat. So
Unfortunately, yeah.
actually, yeah, like everyone else. So if we wanted to keep on developing games and we want to make it in a sort of timely fashion, that it's not gonna take us like 7 years per game or or more. But regardless of that, that's not the point, and that we have proven that it was not about the money from the very beginning. It's just about telling something and expressing ourselves, and everyone who wants to get to be receptive about that, it would be awesome enough for us. And then if we can make a living out of it and make more games after this one, the more the better.
Certainly, certainly. Um, I try to maybe de delve into this side of the topic every time
Hmm.
I talk to a developer because, like we said, sometimes people make games for passion or it's, a job, right? It's one or the other, both sometimes. But I don't think that what is discussed really ever is is the developer, is the creative team behind a project having fun? Is is the creative method, is the process, is the thought of it enjoyable for the individual or the team or anything? Because you know, as outsiders, I think it's glamorous to look at a job like that and be like, that sounds like awesome. That sounds incredible. But I was a kid once, and I went through the phase of like, what jobs do I want? I went through like police officer, developer, all kinds of stuff. And when I thought about like what I would do later on, I was like, game development specifically seemed like it's hard. And then when it comes to the team dynamic and then having people like tell you what to do with your game, I think that kind of aspect or how to be creative in that way, being told how to manage yourself or being managed in any way is not talked about. So for a small team, I imagine it's a lot easier to maybe branch out and explore, certain ideas and maybe have a little fun with the development. And because there's charm in your game. And I think that that's, maybe something to say about a lot of games. But when I saw your little you have little voucher cards that you can find throughout the demo, and you go to vending machines and you get your consumable items like your health and your potions and stuff. You guys have like a
Yeah,
little bit of like, I don't know if it's completely uh all rendered art made by hand or anything like that, but the vending machine has like little logos, and the candy bar like has like a little name and a little tagline like um food for thought, or food for your thoughts, something like that. Like, it's tiny little small details like that that I imagine is one of the more enjoyable parts of creation and the game creation aspect, on top of like figuring out, is this code working, is this mechanic working. I hope that you have fun at the very least with the development. I know that we talked a little bit about it being a little difficult, but I would hate to have you in any kind of way regret making such a fun thing that I enjoyed, if that makes sense, because it was fun. Even if it was just a demo that I got to experience, you guys put in your effort for it, and I had an incredible time. So, like, my hope at the
thank
very
you.
least is that you had fun up until this point, creating the time I had left.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun. Uh, in fact, we are still doing this because this is the thing we like the most in
That's
terms of
incredible to hear,
what we like
really.
to do. Yeah, it's been hard. It's the hard part is that you end up in a situation where you are doing something that you love. You want to do it, but then you have a lot of other things that you don't really like that you have to do in order for this to be viable. So you
True.
have to build what we you were talking about, right? You have to build a studio, you have to pay bills, you have to reach out to publishers, you have to do pitches, go places, and all that. It's it's good enough. You have to do it, but that takes energy away from you. You have to do this in parallel to what you really want to do, and you have to make changes based on that as well. You have to, if you have a sizable team, if you have people that are a lot of teams, even in the teams have a lot of people working on the game, and they have like a producer type developer, an artist, and a programmer, and all that. And we have those roles as well, but we are a lot more fluid in terms that we do a lot of things ourselves. I have a hand
Hmm.
at in everything in the game, from what you read on the chocolate bars to the placement of each camera and the barrel design and the music and all that, and that takes energy away from you, and sometimes it
Absolutely.
gets frustrating. It's frustrating, but it's the way that the some people like to paint because they express themselves better that way. Some
Hmm.
people do music, and I like making a lot of things, even if I don't do them as well as someone that it's fully dedicated to their craft. But still, games allow me to put my hand on a little bit of everything, and I really enjoy it when I'm kind of completely completely tense because things aren't doing so well, or something like that. I get to the game. I get to create maybe a new track, or uh, improve some aspect of the narrative or something like that, and it's really great. The only part is is what I said. It's very very tiresome. It gets it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
which may give you the wrong impression at some point when you are very stressed that this is not going anywhere, or this is not going to, people aren't going to like this. But then hearing comments like what you just told me, that makes it all worthwhile. So thank you.
Of course, I'm very glad that you took it as positive feedback. So I try to be as positive as I can be with everything involved, right? I
Everything.
mean, um, a long history of game development is nothing to scoff at, you know. I think that any amount of time of effort that somebody puts into something is great. And, you know, you said yourself, you kind of have your uh, hand in the pie, right? Like you have a little bit of everything in terms of not just
Yeah.
creative aspects, but you're leading the Kickstarter, the Discord, right? And I imagine you're the one doing all the press and the review reading. So there's a lot of things about game development I think we don't think about, and it's that managing side.
Mhm.
I mean, sure, a company can do it, but when you're just yourself, that is an entirely different level of responsibility and stress that's just put on. So, I recognize that. And we mentioned it a little bit before, but arcades, they were
Mhm.
pretty much the social setting, the original social setting for video gaming, which is incredible.
Mhm.
And obviously, with the internet, that has changed the game entirely. Your game is a single player game, which I think in the future, the my ideas that I talked about with speed running, that will build a community all on its own for whatever reason. But I think that maybe this might have been enjoyable for you. Maybe it obviously is stressful because it is part of the job. But I imagine that having this Discord community, because I joined the Discord like a few months ago when we were first talking,
Mhm.
and then I imagine you guys talked to a lot of people through all your other social medias and stuff, especially like with the Steam reviews and stuff. I
Mhm.
imagine that at least engaging in with people like me, I suppose, or just generic gamers, people who tried your game or interested in your game, that must be incredible to have people come up and be like, "What is this game about?" Or, "I played this game. This is why I hate it. This is why I dislike it, or I don't like it, or whatever reason." You know, I hope that in the face of this being your first game, that those experiences didn't turn you away in any way. Because I think that the interest that people have, whether it's positive or negative, is still interest, right? They talk about negative publicity. I mean, is it really negative publicity to call your game a Expedition 33 like or any other kind of generic like game? I mean, it has elements from Silent Hill, Dead Rising. So like when I think about reasons for why people are trying to experience or look into or try a game, I think about what it took for that developer to put that in there and what they tried to do to make it appealing. And then when you're in this position of, I have to not just still create my game, right, you have to take time away from developing the craft to maybe telling somebody why they should play it, or telling somebody that, hey, this thing in the demo isn't really going to uh, be the same, which is very, very common in games. This mechanic might be different, this piece of art might be different. I hope that, when it comes to talking to people like me and, anybody else on the internet from your game, like from the past or until your eventual launch, I hope that those kind of experiences don't discourage you in any way from making games or continuing, because that is something that I would actually dislike to see.
Not at all, because we are in fact very receptive to feedback, even if
Cool.
it's very negative, as long as people are respectful when addressing to us. If
I'm
it's
sure they are,
said as a kind
yes.
of an, you can read between the lines. If it's
Hmm.
said as a sort of an insult, it's when it affects you negatively, because it kind of we are humans are designed that way, right?
Hmm.
Bad things or insults reach us, make us hurt more than other things.
Right.
But we don't consider something like this game is very rough, or this game needs work, animations could be improved, all this kind of stuff. uh, there are things that we already know, and but some of them not, and we take notes about that. But some of them are obvious even for us. It's something that we haven't been able to do with the with our current in our current situation. We want to improve a lot of things, and we are always listening to what people think can be improved. And that's great, because we are always if we get this kind of strong reactions, it means that we are onto something. We are in the way to make something that it's great, and we want as much as any other people to make the game the greatest it can be. So we are very, very open to hearing all these things. It's just that um, we don't want we appreciate that people are not too offensive when saying things. There are some people that have been pretty mean, but mostly people are very, very polite, and they share their thoughts on the game. Even if they are negative, they are very respectful, and we appreciate that.
That's good to hear in the internet space at the very least. I think we all know how that could go. And so, your game,
Yeah.
is there a release window this year, maybe?
Yeah, we can say anything about that right
Okay,
now.
I got
Uh,
you. I got
yeah,
you.
yeah, I'm sorry. I would love to share a date with all the people that have been supporting us for a long time,
Yeah,
but it's very difficult to kind of set a date right now, because we are working on this uh, by ourselves, without any financial support and all that you
absolutely.
already know, because of our media and all that. But we are putting all our energy into this, and we wanted this to succeed. But if we say a date and we can't make it for the third time, I think no one is gonna believe us anymore. So we will give a date when we are very confident that we can make it, so we don't have to move our goalpost again, like we did in 2022 and in 2024.
No, understandable.
So yeah, when we are ready, we will announce it with time for you to know.
Okay. Well, Juan, was there any kind of questions that you had for me before we wrap this up at some point? I'm just an
Yeah, no,
impartial
nothing.
guy.
Yeah, nothing in particular. I think
I
that
got you.
first of all, thank you for having me here today, and for asking all these questions, and for giving us a place to kind of talk about ourselves and development and the game. And thank you for your comments and for playing the demo and sharing your experience. All of this, I really like to talk to people every time I can when someone wants to kind of chat like this. I really appreciate it because I uh, get to know people that are into the game and try to and kind of adjust my mindset to make a game more for these people that really believe in us. So thank you for the opportunity.
Of course, of course. I did say it before, but I just try to give this platform the chance to let developers or creatives at least promote their own game in an honest way, right? I mean, a trailer can do one thing, but I think that nowadays, when it comes to like, well, what is a reason for me to play a game? Is it really the flashy graphics, the multiplayer experience, or would it be the kind of effort that was put in this game? I think a lot of people do value the indie, the small team experience, that kind of
Yeah,
craft a little more in terms like maybe authenticity or maybe like more so quality compared to AAA games or anything around that scale. So I've only had indie developers on here, so I really try to come with the approach that you guys literally come at your project from the heart. And I think that's very true with having these honest, open discussions on just the game development and just what it's like being a game developer, what it was like making the certain game or a set of games at a certain time. And to me, that experience is incredibly valuable. That's something that is what makes other games. A lot of game developers have ups and downs on all kinds of, experiences.
yeah,
But then there's like maybe one thing that they either really enjoyed and that was like very treasurable to them, or they made a massive media success and that set them for life. In whatever aspect that might be, I want them to at least be able to express themselves for that project. So again, thank you for coming
awesome.
out onto here and talking about the time I have left. This game was incredibly fun. Like, I'm not the type of person who's gonna leave a Steam review or something like that and be like, the gameplay wasn't this or the audio was that. In my opinion, like I'm not that kind of creative, so I never try to discourage or criticize um, that kind of creative process. But what I do try to talk about is the whole package fun. Like when I downloaded the game, when I press start, when I make the character, when I do the tutorial, was that opening process actually enjoyable? Is the middle game fun? Is like the everyday gameplay loop enjoyable to experience on like a regular basis? And then if your game has it, is there an end game? Is that end game satisfying? Is that reoccurring type of stuff re-enjoyable? And we talked about all these kind of multiplayer seasonal pass games, but the single player game is something that's really, really crucial to gaming. Not everybody wants to be online or engaging with other people. So for games of this scale, I think it's incredibly, incredibly important where we have developers have the opportunity to at least talk about them openly with or without a publisher or somebody behind their back. Because you know, I want you, I want people like you to tell me what was fun about making games, what was bad about making games. I want you to tell me about the people in game development that make it difficult, what's the hardest parts of the industry. It's the whole amalgamation that really gets me intrigued, because I look at the IGN app every day. Like that is my thing, the IGN news app. I mean, I'm sure that I could use all the other ones, but that's the one that works for me. And
Hmm.
they don't do these type of talks. At least like they have like small podcasts where they might have like really like clipped portions of talks and like obviously very curated questions and stuff. Very more professional than I can do right now, but I think there's a level of like authenticity or honesty that isn't really like put forward for at least gaming when it comes to getting the gamers to talk to developers. And I at least hope that with your experience through Discord or we talked through X that you found it a lot easier to talk to fans and people that were interested in your game rather than maybe like 2002 or the 90s where you would have to put out like a article about your game or take out an ad and be like, what are people saying on the reviews and stuff like that. You get a little more quick, authentic feedback. And this is my way of doing that for you guys. A quick little video where we talk about it and we have a positive discussion about a game or something else. I know I'm long-winded on these little rants.
Hello, sorry.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was the question,
Oh,
if there
I
was
was
one?
just no, it wasn't really a question. I was just saying that
Okay.
it was fun talking to you guys, and I try to,
Yeah. Thank you.
justify getting a developer to talk about their game. It's really just that because I don't think there's a lot of like honest communication between them. And, you know, you talking to me has been hopefully very fun for you. And I hope that if
Yeah.
you had other people talk to you about your game, that that kind of interaction wasn't negative in any way towards the game development or your experience. Because that's to me, that's probably the worst part about it is to be like the people who play my game are harassing me about the game. I don't want that for anybody. That seems incredibly unfair and a waste of somebody's time. Like, if I don't like a game, I'm not gonna complain about it unless you're BioWare. Listen, listen, you're not BioWare. You didn't have like the world at your feet and you didn't crush it, right? So like,
Yeah.
I found your game incredibly fun for an indie game, and that is something that I think is special. So thank you for putting out the demo that you did. I hope that in the future I get a chance to play the full vision of what you have because that seems like an incredible time. Thank you.
Thank you as well, and we'll work very hard for you to have the chance to play the full game. Thank you so much.
Okay. Juan, you have a great rest of your day. I apologize for taking up about an hour of your time. Um, we're gonna end the recording here, and if there's anything else that
Perfect.
you wanted to say, just let me know.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I have to go because someone is I have another meeting right now.
Okay, I
But
got you.
it was very nice of you for having us here, and it was I had a very good time. So thank you.
Okay, wish you the best rest of your development and just a good 2026 because it's still relatively new year. So best wishes
Yeah,
to you. I hope you have a great rest of your time.
same to you. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Bye bye.